Elizabeth Hand is the author of well over 20 books. She spends part of her year in Maine, part in London. Her latest novel is called Hokalua Road. She's with us here on 207 to talk about it. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So this is an interesting book. It is set in Hawaii. It's about a guy from Maine who goes to Hawaii to become a caretaker for a fabulously wealthy person's estate. What was the spark of the idea that got this rolling?
Well, I happened to be in Maui at the height of the pandemic. My daughter lives in Maui and has for a number of years, so I visited there. I was there during the pandemic, 2020 summer, big lockdown, because she was having her first child, my first grandchild. So I was there for 6 weeks, 2 weeks in isolation, and then a month when there was virtually nobody on the island. It was just, there was no one there. No tourists, everything was shut down. And it was such an eerie experience, and I thought, what a great place to have set a crime novel. I write crime novels, but I wanted to have a fish out of water there, because I feel like a fish out of water
so
there.
by putting the Mainer in Hawaii,
exactly.
You've got this real contrast set up. And yet there are some similarities between Maine and Hawaii. Both places of great natural beauty, both places that attract huge numbers of tourists, both places where there's a certain tension between the locals and, in particular, the really wealthy people who come there to live or visit.
Absolutely, and that was one of the things I really tried to lean into. It is a novel that has a mystery at its heart, but Grady, who's the protagonist, is a young carpenter, late 20s from Maine. He's been thrown out of work from the pandemic, and he kind of latches onto immediately the similarities between Maui, which is unnamed in the book, but this island and where he comes from, the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And working people. He's a smart guy. He trained as a wilderness guide. He's certified as an EMT, and he's a carpenter. So he has this very competent skill set, which most of my friends in Maine, who are people like that, also possess. So for me, it was very easy to kind of put him into this place of great natural beauty, as you said, but peril. And he's also somewhere where he just, he's completely unmoored. He doesn't know the culture, he doesn't know the customs. He's coming from, a very, very different world in rural Maine, and finding himself in a very different place, especially, throwing in the fact that it takes place during the pandemic. It's a whole other level of weirdness.
You have written 19 novels, several collections of short stories, other kinds of work. You're obviously prolific. Does the writing come easily to you?
No.
You just make it look easy.
I wish I could say it does. I think some people, maybe it does, but no, it never comes easily for me. I love doing it, but it's, I don't know what to compare it to. I guess for, somebody walking a tightrope, you're trained, you've done it a million times, but every time you go out there on that tightrope, you have to be aware that you're taking a risk, and obviously it's not a risk with my life, but failure is always an option.
It's a risk with your reputation. None of us likes to be embarrassed. Nobody wants to do a really bad pratfall in public.
No. So, but I love doing it. So,
the contrast between Maine and Hawaii is noticeable in, of course, a lot of ways. One of them is the weather. When you live in Maine, you never know what the weather's going to be. When you live in Hawaii, it's just kind of one perfect day after another. Did you like living in Hawaii? Or I guess, to put it more accurately, do you find it's stimulating to be in Maine? Because just things are happening with the weather, and it's different every day, whereas Hawaii, exactly what you're in for day after day.
I love Maine, I have to say. People ask me, wouldn't you like to go and live in Hawaii? And I said, no, I really wouldn't. I love visiting there. It's a beautiful place. Mm-hmm. It's very, very different from here, obviously, but no. I've lived in Maine for 34 years, and as a kid growing up in upstate New York, we would vacation here, we would go camping. So I feel really deeply embedded here. I'm always conscious that I'm from away, but I love it. I love the seasons. I love winter. I love fall. My daughter, who lives in Maui, she misses the winter. She misses autumn. She comes here with her family every winter to stay for at least a month because she misses it so much.
I love that. People coming from Hawaii to Maine, please send more, stimulate our economy. Sounds great to me. Elizabeth Hand, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Again,
My
the name of the
pleasure.
new book is Hokalua Road. We've got more information on the book and the author in the 207 section of our website and app. And stick around, we'll return with more in just a moment.